guys, Anna here. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another speed build. Today we're in the world of Henford-on-Bagley and we are building a 5x3 bedroom farm. And this is a bit of a long one, guys. So if you get tucked in and grab a snack and a drinky drink, and we're going to get right into it. So this particular build started with an inspiration that was fairly simple. It was a very symmetrical kind of square with a front bump out section with some twin chimneys, and that's where the inspiration of the build that I saw online started from. But I actually really struggled with this particular build, translating it into The Sims and making it look like aesthetically pleasing. So in the end, I did decide to add that far right bump out that you're seeing there that I'm just putting the roof on. That particular bump out becomes our kitchen, which is really nice. I didn't have too many issues with the floor plan on this particular build. I do really feel that the floor plan flows. It's 2 stories, as mentioned. All the bedrooms are upstairs, and you have I think you have an ensuite, and then an upstairs bathroom, downstairs bathroom, open living and kitchen. And we also have kind of like an improv, kind of like skill building study area. I really didn't know what to do with the space, so you'll see that shortly when we do go inside for the floor plan. So let's talk a little bit more about the exterior. So a build like this does take longer to build because, I definitely feel that this is more a thematic build. So, the landscaping is quite long, and I did struggle with the overall outside of this build. There's something about the colors swatches with cottage living assets that I really struggle to make it look nice. Sometimes I feel the brick is a little bit too green as opposed to beige, and I didn't really like, we obviously didn't get a foundation that went with the pack. So I end up using Life and Death. So Life and Death actually came really useful in this particular build in the end, because I think with Life and Death, it did have, those are like a lot of older buildings. Obviously, it's a more Romanian countryside type aesthetic, but it still was usable in this particular build here in Henford-on-Bagley. All right, so we are inside and we are looking into doing the floor plan. So the first thing I did was place my stairs. That was really important. We do end up moving the stairs over just slightly, and then to the left side of where the stairs are, that is going to be like an open living space. And then what I'm doing right now is trying to work out this hallway space and the dining and the kitchen. So you've got that, as I said, that far section on the right, that is left, right. Sorry, the left-hand side has the kitchen, the right-hand side has the living room. Oh my God. I don't know my left and rights. Okay, anyway, so you have this entryway, and I felt that there was a lot of room. So I've just added a kind of a squared room behind the stairs, and that actually becomes the downstairs bathroom. I thought that was a great use of the space. So from there, we are now kind of creating this entryway, and I do put a diagonal piece. I did, and then that opens out into the living room. And then we have a lot of archways that lead you through a couple of hallways, which leads you then down to the kitchen and then into the dining room. So that dining room is where that's just behind where the staircase is. And I really love it. I think it flows. I really like the floor plan on this one. And it was fairly easy. It wasn't too difficult. Upstairs. So I just basically start from where the stairs are and kind of just start closing off bump outs and forming a central hallway. In this particular build, we do have an upstairs sitting area, which is like a second living area. We have 2 like adult-ish rooms, I guess. So one room would be like the master bedroom of the home, and then the second is the I don't know, it could just be like a spare room, or maybe have a grandparent living in this particular build. And then there are, I believe, is it a toddler's room and a child's room? Yeah, maybe. Not sure. Wallpaper. So I really loved this particular wallpaper. Once I found it, I was like, yep. I don't usually use this kind of pattern, but I felt that it really fit the space. And I believe in the bedrooms we go with something different. And when I go to the bedrooms to furnish them, I will change them. But yeah, I really liked it. I've used the Cottage Living barn doors. I am just placing a whole heap of beds just to kind of map out where I'm going to put stuff. So yeah, I've got an infant's room, 2 child's room, and 2 kind of like adult-ish rooms, plus a second living area. All right, so we used Debug Landscape. We used Debug for the landscaping of this particular build. I've said it before, Cottage Living is my favorite pack. And one of the things I really love about Cottage Living is just obviously the gameplay, but the debug menu is, in my opinion, one of the best in the entire game. It has lovely flowers in it. There's like these roses. The trees are really pretty. I really love these kind of, I don't know what they're called. They're like these pinkish flowers that you see at the front there. So this took the longest amount of time, and I did cut out a lot of it. But I just went to ham. I just opened the debug menu and used a lot of trees. I wanted to kind of really like nestle this particular lot in around a lot of trees because it doesn't naturally have a lot of trees. I've used these kind of vine grass-ish pieces. I don't even know what they're called. To in different parts of the exterior just to add some like interest to the exterior. So I've done it on the side and I've done it on the front of the build. And yeah, just going in with some flowers. And this is the back of the property. So we do add a porch and then that just loops around to where the animals are. I put this stoned kind of ruin bit in, paired it with like a basic fence. I just thought that was an interesting point of interest. I put like a broken fence around the trees as if to imply that maybe the trees were overgrown and it destroyed the fence. And the other thing that I add into this build that I really, really like is a pond. So where this kind of car was, that's where the pond is going to sit at the front of the build. And ponds came into The Sims 4 with Cottage Living. That was the base game update that we got when we got Cottage Living. So with each expansion pack, we generally get a big base game update. And I don't use them a ton, but I definitely want to use them a lot more. I think there's a couple of styles of builds that you could use a pond and it would look really cool. There was a build for this particular month that I was going to use a fountain, but I decided to put a pre-made fountain in. But that's the other type of things like ponds and fountains. I don't really add this stuff into my builds and I don't really use terrain manipulation in general that much. And I want to. I definitely want to. I've seen a lot of split level homes that have looked really cool. And I think I want to like challenge myself and learn how to do maybe some split level homes. So let me know in the comment section down below. Is there any type of content you'd really like to see? Is there any particular world you would like me to build in? Is there any type of style of home you would like to see? I'd be really interested in knowing that. I definitely want to take some time and maybe do some more tiny homes, especially with the new expansion pack that's come out. I think that, tiny homes and fairies are just, it would just pair so well together. It's just what I think of when I think of fairies, small homes. So I'm really excited to potentially delve into that a little more. All right, so we are now into the part of the landscaping where I'm going to introduce all of where we're going to put the animals and the gardening and stuff. So we do have 2 chicken coops and 1 animal shed. So with the animal shed, you can have a llama or a cow. I don't know. I think I always play with the cow. I don't ever play with llamas. Maybe I will. See, this is very much my style of gameplay. I love a build like this. The problem I have though is I go a little overboard and then it's really hard to take care of the farm. But yeah, and then you're having children and you're building a family, and it's a whole thing. But this is very much what I like to do in my type of gameplay. All right, so this truck, I really didn't know where to put it because the pathing didn't really feel like a driveway. So in the end, I decided to take these produce crates and this milk carton from Debug, and I just kind of sized it up and put it in the back tray of the truck, or the ute, I guess. I really like it. I thought that was quite a nice way to utilize the Debug items, and it adds just a point of interest into the backyard. I definitely think that, I mean, this is the biggest, in terms of size of lot, this is the biggest build that we've done for the month of July, but there is another build that is quite big as well. But yeah, so anyway, I think this is the point in the build where I do finalize the exterior. I did chop and change this quite a lot. As I said, the foundation will be changing. I think I changed the windows. I change a lot of things just because I really struggled with the color scheme of the exterior of the build. And that happens to me sometimes. Like if you're an avid Anna watcher, you might see that it's very much a work in progress with my builds, but I love the interior. I love the floor plan. I love the interior. So it's very much a trust the process. And I do stick with it. There are a few builds where I'm like, should I bulldoze this and start again? But I never do. I always stick with it. And I definitely feel that if you're not, when it's not pack restricted, it's a lot easier. And that was the theme of this month, was to kind of utilize the world, like build in different worlds, but not necessarily only using that pack. So obviously we do use a lot of cottage living in here, but I didn't want to pack restrict because, again, having those other objects from other packs really elevated this build. All right, we are finally inside and doing the decorating. Okay, so we do start with the entryway. I kept it very simple in here. This armchair you'll see all around the build. I think I use it like 50 times. That's a bit of an exaggeration. I probably use it about 6 or 8 times because it just works. And I do think using repeat assets makes sense because, you know, they might have bought multiple. I don't know, it's realistic. Anyway, you got that lovely open space, and that leads you into the living room. I have put a fireplace here. The living room in the upstairs is kind of in the same area, but I don't put a fireplace upstairs. I just leave it for the downstairs. Upstairs is kind of just like it's kind of like a sitting room that has like I think it has like a playing cards table, maybe has some children's stuff in there as well. It was just like a really large space that I didn't want to have a 6-bedroom in, and it was a bit big for a bedroom, so that's what I've done with that particular space. But down here, I do have a desk and a computer, bookcases, the TV is down here. You'll see that in a minute. And it's not too cluttered in here, but it is a fairly decent size living room. I really loved this growing together kind of trunk vintage type coffee table. I thought that really worked well because, again, I felt that cottage living, you know, things aren't necessarily going to be modern and new and shiny. I don't know. I just don't. That's just not how I perceive that type of decor style. So yeah, I thought that piece worked really well. Basement treasure kit. Love that kit. I am actually so surprised how often I use that kit. I reckon I use it in every build, which is surprising because, you know, I think I held off buying it for a really long time. But there has been a couple of pieces of DLC in the game that I have held off for a while, and then I get it and I'm like, wow, I should have gotten this ages ago. They're very much slept on. And I personally use a lot of the basement treasures kit. And I think like backyard stuff is the other one that I slept on for a while. All right. Anyway, so from the living room, we go into this hallway, and that door there leads into the downstairs bathroom. I think there are 2 downstairs bathrooms. Yes. So there's actually not an ensuite. There are 2 downstairs bathrooms and then 1 upstairs. So you've got one that I think you only access to through the dining room, and then you've got one that is just a general access, which is just through that door there. And that's kind of like a mud room. I put that area as kind of like a mud room. And this is that improv hallway that's kind of like a skill building space. We put a piano in here, and I believe maybe a chess table. Yes. More bookcases. And this, yeah, it's a kind of like a throw together kind of area. I didn't know what to do with this hallway, because the concept of this build is it is like a wraparound around the staircase. So in order to get to the kitchen, you have to go through like pretty much the whole right side of the build just to get to the kitchen. But yeah, like in for example, in the house I grew up in, that was pretty much the floor plan. In order to get to, say, the bathroom, you had to go down a hallway or you had to go through this. So it is realistic in that sense, but for routing reasons, I think that maybe that would be a little annoying, but it's not too far apart that it's going to take forever in game. Speaking of the kitchen, we are in the kitchen. This is a large kitchen, but I do feel that there is a lot of empty space in this particular kitchen, which I'm not too happy about. I think that if I was to do it again, I could probably put something else in this particular space, and you'll see what I mean when maybe I could have done like a gallery style kitchen, which is where the counters are on the far left and right side of the windows. Windows. But yes, it'd be like the counters would be where the windows are. And then potentially you could have had an island and a table. But I like what I've done. I've added lots of, like, you see what I mean? It's just a big empty space there. I've added in a mixer and just appliances, and a big kitchen, because I felt that, maybe these Sims do like canning and baking and the simple living, and that was a big focus with this particular pack. I also put in a tea set. What else do we do? Got a kettle, just because it's English, they would have a kettle. Like in Australia, we have kettles as well. But in America, sometimes you guys don't have kettles. Like you see those horrid videos of people making tea in a microwave, and it's very alarming. Anyway, we are in the dining room, and as I mentioned, yes, that door there goes into one of the downstairs bathrooms. It's interesting to have that entrance from a dining room, but I suppose like if Sims are eating, maybe that would be okay, but it doesn't really matter. It's in the Sims. I don't know how realistic that would be. But yeah, I just put a large dining table in here with a trinket cabinet kind of thing. And that's it really for the dining room. The dining room is very simplistic. And then in the other hallway by the back door, I did put like a mud room, hanging your coats up, shoe kind of cupboard. Because, I don't know, just thought it would fit better. Put in a high chair. And then I do believe we are going back outside, maybe. Oh, no, we're going upstairs. Okay, we're going upstairs. We are going into what would I believe be, I don't know. See, these could interchange, these two adult type rooms. I really don't necessarily think one is a master and one isn't. So I guess if you were to download this build, which it is on the gallery, my gallery ID is Antoinette44. It is in the description below if needed. You could put whatever sim in this particular room. It's not necessarily that one is better suited for a master than the other. They just have a different color scheme. This one uses a lot of, obviously, that kind of mustard golden color and reds. The other one uses more greens and pinks. You'll see that shortly. So that's really the difference. I put this painting in here because I needed something on the wall. It doesn't really suit. I kind of, looking back at it now, probably should have deleted that or put something different. But yeah, no, I think that's fine. We definitely do have cross stitch somewhere in this build, but I've also put in the knitting just because why not? And I've used the rocking chair that came with Growing Together. All right, we are in that second kind of adult's room. And as I mentioned, the color scheme is pink and green in here. And this, yeah, I mean, even a teen's room, like it looks a bit girly. I've used the cabinet, the tall wardrobe that comes with Horse Ranch. Again, it's all interchangeable. Like you could go cottage living, horse ranch, life and death. It's all very cohesive in style. There are some assets that really do cross over in those styles. This is the main landing area for the upstairs. I do just put in a general desk. I don't believe I put a computer on there. I like to have plain desks in my builds because it's important. And then I don't really do much else. I think we put in some more, chairs, more of these armchairs. So at the moment, I think we're down to, so there's two there, so that, and then one in the entryway. So that's 5 plus 2 downstairs. Yeah, so there's like 7 or 8. There's like 7 or 8. Yeah, I was pretty close. There's a lot. But it's just the one thing I put in hallways. I just, it's easy. Anyway, this is the open space. That's that second living room. I do change this around a bit, especially with the color scheme. Oh, we've got more armchairs. Okay, so we are now up to 9. So there are 9 in this build because I forgot there were 2 up here. All right, so there are 9. But I like the color scheme, and this is just like a seated area. I've used the diaper bag that comes with Storybook Nursery Kit. I just thought that was a realistic piece. It's just also a bit of decor. And I am now working on the children's room. So this is, I think, a more girly room. I really liked that purple. These beds, I want to say, come from the university pack. I want to say, maybe. The wardrobe comes from Cottage Living. The rug comes from Base Game. This flower pot, I think this is the backyard stuff. I love this item. There's that, and then there's one that's very similar that's in Laundry Day that I use quite a bit. And it's just really pretty. I just really like kind of using that in kids' rooms. Because it looks a bit fun and playful. So we've gone in with a purple wallpaper, and now I'm going around just changing all the wallpaper in the other rooms. So you've got a pinkish room, a greenish room, a yellow room. This room's going to be blue. No, it's not. It's going to be red, maybe. Yeah, I think I went with the beige kind of yellow only because the red in this game is very bright, and I just don't think it would be realistic for a bedroom. But again, this Love Struck rug is got the perfect shade of red, so we've used that as a way to pull a little bit more red. And I've just kind of, I put the scouting board in here. I don't usually use that. I always forget that it exists. So that's really exciting. And then we just put in some other items, a desk, some children's skill building stuff. And we are moving into the final bedroom, which is a infant's room. This is very plain jade. I just used blue. Obviously, that rug comes from Cottage Living. And then everything else is just kind of base game. Actually growing together, not base game, because we got the crib and that with a base game update, but the bin comes from growing together. That's so annoying that like the diaper bin doesn't come with the base game changing tables. Anyway, I could go on. All right, upstairs bathroom. So this must be the one bathroom that we're deciding to film. The others you'll see in the tour. This is very standard, I guess. I've used that mirror that I really love from Get Together. I've used the shower tub combo that comes from Base Game. That really does fit that type of vibe. I've used a little bit of the bathroom clutter kit. I've used the counters that come with Cottage Living, but in a different shade than the ones in the kitchen. This is that Laundry Day flowered pot arrangement thingy majiggy that I mentioned earlier. So I've used that. And all the bathrooms are pretty similar. I do use that counter shade in all of the 3 bathrooms, I'm pretty confident. So yeah. All right, so it looks like we are live in game, and I'm just swapping out the bench because we actually did get a bench that came with cottage living. So I thought I might as well use the actual proper bench. And I think we're going around for the tour. So this is the backyard. You've obviously got your chickens, you've got your animal shed for your, whether it's your llama or your cow, and the pond, which is really nice. You walk into a beautiful entranceway, kind of has a diagonal entry into the living room where you've got just, your standard living room stuff. You've got that mud room, that downstairs bathroom. This is the first of the two. You then go into that kind of improv skill building, kind of, family area, into a really large kitchen, which, as I said, I wish I would have done a little bit more with the space in there. The dining room, you go through this door to the second downstairs bathroom, which does have a potty, which is weird that I'd put it in that particular one. Upstairs landing, that then goes into the infant's room, the child's room, the male's child's room, the upstairs bathroom, which we just saw, the second child's room, the female's child's room, the first adult room, whether this is the master bedroom or the spare bedroom, and then that final bedroom, which is also potentially a teen's room or an adult's room. And then you have the second upstairs living area, which I really love in here. I think I'm just going to add some clutter potentially on the coffee table. Cushions, writing cushions. Yeah, no, yes. Writing cushions. Why not? I really like this because it pulls in the red from the rug. So I think that's a good idea. Looks cute. And that is the build today, guys. So thank you so much for joining me. If you have stayed to the end, I really appreciate it. Leave a comment, tell me what you liked, what you didn't like, and I will see you in the next one. Bye-bye for now.